Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti, hoping you guys are having a good day. And above all else, that you're looking after yourselves and one another. It is my sincere pleasure to welcome back to the channel, Mr. Jim Breaker. How's it going, Jim?
Doing well, Armando. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure to have you on, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some sad news to report to you this morning. Yesterday, uh, Jim informed me of the passing of Mr. John Kelman, a contributing editor to allthatjazz.com. Um, and a friend of Jim's, and I will pass the mic over to him so that Jim can give us a bit of insight into the working history of Mr. John Kelman.
Yeah, John. John was not his real name. It was a pen name.
Okay.
Excuse me. John's actual name is David Binder. Was David Binder. He passed away on either August 9th or 10th. 68 years old. Passed from a heart attack. He's survived by his wife Rio. Um, the reason why I wanted to talk about John or Dave, how he was fine with whatever. He was a pretty significant voice in the community of people who loved um, jazz and prog. Um, there were three categories in which he kind of especially excelled: ECM records, King Crimson, and Pat Metheny. And John's passion and knowledge and for those two bands are the things that really knit us together very, very tightly. But there's a lot else about him that bears some review and respect. Um, Michael Ricci, who is the founder of All About Jazz, says that he was a quote cherished member of the All About Jazz family for the past 20 years. His reviews, which are known for their depth and eloquence, which is an understatement, were a testament to his profound knowledge and passion for music. He was a walking encyclopedia when it comes to all things ECM, prog rock, and fusion. Allaboutjazz.com is where Dave did the majority of his writing. And when I stopped counting, there were 70 web pages of archived interviews, articles, and reviews. Um, and again, that's allaboutjazz.com. And I think Armando is going to put a link to his articles in the description for this video.
I will.
Um, his recent articles were reprints from either previous All About Jazz articles or they were reprints of liner notes that he authored. Um, the most recent ones that were posted up there were from Bill Bruford's Summerfold and Winterfold collections, and also various ECM collections. Um, the comment from Michael regarding his depth and eloquence, that's it's no lie. His last lengthy review was the was on Robert Fripp's 32 disc exposures box. He was liberally quoting from the box set booklet, but Kelman's comments and his contextual observations run for nearly 20,000 words. And that is not uncommon for him
Mm.
because when he did reviews, he dove in deep, not only providing commentary about what you can expect and what you're listening to, but also kind of the historical context of how this work fits in to the artist's repertoire and even within the category, um, within which his work lived. Pardon my tongue slip there. Um, John had a lot of people who loved his work because you were kind of invited to sit down, pull up a cup of your favorite beverage and settle in because 20,000 words is a lot to get to, but his passion was palpable. His writing was always engaging and his insights and commentary were always relatable. And it wasn't burdened by these, esoteric excursions into your thesaurus. You know, he was very pithy, but yet he was able to go very, very deep in what he was discussing. Um, John was also a musician, and so he was able to bring his training and experiences to albums and concerts and just interviews. So it was, providing insight and context way beyond the standard. This is good because dot dot dot. Um, as I mentioned, we bonded furiously over Matheny and King Crimson, and you know, he offering, he was offering not only his opinions and information about what was forthcoming, but he also shared some really good behind the scenes stories, which I need to take to my grave. Um, Sadly, we never did meet in person, but we spoke on the phone and exchanged emails and text messages. I can recall probably a good half a dozen hour-long conversations that we had on the phone, just talking about music, talking about life. Um, as I was dealing with my own issues related to chronic fatigue syndrome, John was a good person to relate to the impact of that on my life, because he was having his own struggles, and I greatly appreciated his empathy and support. Um, he spoke of what he was going through for, like, I don't know, half a decade of just health issues that could not be pinpointed. Um, just trying to identify and control his condition. He told me, it's like, when I'm on enough meds and my oxygen is fine, but there's two meds that I'm on that are weakening my immune system. And so, it's like, barring going for walks, he's just so severely limited. And this was a guy who would cover, Ottawa Jazz Festival in depth. He would go to Norwegian jazz festivals, that lasted a week, and cover them in depth. Again, his passion for music was pretty peerless and boundless. Last text exchange I had from John was about 2 months ago in June, and he was expressing hope, frankly, in a new set of doctors and what they had identified. And he said, even if it's not, for certain, it's the closest he's come to healing for the last 31 months. And there's a bunch of Grawlix characters afterwards. So clearly he was frustrated with what he was going through and the lack of being able to pinpoint it. But
Yeah.
he showed, good humor and, great sense of character, even in the midst of all that. The last big project he was working on was a book for Panegyric. And Panegyric was the publisher of Sid Smith's In the Court of the Crimson King book, the 50th anniversary
I
tome.
was going to ask you
Uh,
about that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, John's book was going to focus on the live albums and performances of King Crimson and their members. So, he would go to albums by Ballou, Bruford, Fripp, Levin.
Quite in depth. Yeah. Quite in depth.
Yeah, he would go in depth. Um, if I recall correctly, it was to be a combination of new material and edited versions of articles from his All About Jazz archives, but I don't know what the state of that is. I know he's been wanting to complete it for the last couple of years, and I don't know if he ever got to finish it. His commentaries inspired me to think more critically and carefully about why music touches me so, and why certain things kind of leave me cold. A technical prowess and studio wizardry, can only go so far. But John helped me to kind of see that the meat of a composition, the inspiration that you can hear behind the performers, the choice of the attack, whether it's just to go gentle or go hard, these are the important things that make a connection to me in music. And John's conversations and writings about that really helped open my eyes to see
Yeah.
things and to hear things more critically. But larger than that, John had a very relaxed, friendly nature and invited conversation that was warm and real, and always kind of moved beyond just shared interest into, like, the real things of life.
If I can
Uh,
just interject something here from the little I've read of his his work, that's how he wrote. He wrote from a very the only way I can describe it is a warm point of view. Like he wasn't, and forgive me for saying this out there, but he wasn't writing from a journalistic point of view. He was writing from a fan point of view, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. His, even though he could, wields an academic's vocabulary when
yes,
talking about
yes,
music, he
yes.
talked about it from the standpoint of someone who just was a lover of what he was listening to and
That that's what I
spoke of
take
things
from.
from the heart. Yeah.
That's what I took from his writing. From what little, I mean, you just let me know. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim called me about this yesterday, and I thought we could do this video just as a quick tribute. Uh, quick is a oxymoron when it comes to our videos that we do together, Jim and I. But
I'm trying, man.
no, that's fine. It's fine. You're doing wonderfully. Don't worry about it. But no, so I for what little I did read of uh, John's work, I did feel that he wrote from the point of view of a genuine fan of the music.
Right.
Not it wasn't stoic. It wasn't standoffish kind of. I mean, like he didn't use a lot of 13-letter words. Do you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
get this point across. Do you know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. Very much so. Very much so. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah. And like I said, his work touched a lot of people. I mean, I heard about John's passing from the Steve Hoffman music forums. Um, and pretty quickly, the a couple of pages of comments lined up about how he'll be missed, how his commentary was so unique, and how it was on point. Um, it was it's a pretty quick outpouring of care and regret for someone who was, simply a writer about
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
You know, so his love of it transcended the screen very, very easily, and people really connected with what he was saying and how he was saying it.
Yeah. And
Um,
I was just gonna also say from what I read, I could also see if he ever had to conduct an interview with say an artist like Matheny, um, I could see the artist sort of warming up to him for the interviews because these musicians do interviews like so many interviews at some point they get kind of jaded with who they're talking to because
sure.
they get very guarded, but I can see someone of like Joni Mitchell, let's say, or Herbie Hancock talking to him and letting their guard down with John very quickly because of his approach
Yeah.
to the world.
Yeah.
Do you know
His
what I
his
mean?
oh yeah, absolutely. His approach is not I would say it was very much on the level. I'm sorry.
It's
It was very much on the level of like a Rick Beato, but he never really got into talking about, you know, the in depth of chord changes and the kind of the technical aspects of
yeah,
music
yeah,
that Rick does. I mean, John could go there, but he always talked about it's like, okay, the choice of those chord changes evokes what in the listener. He was talking about it from that standpoint,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
really that's what made the connection is that he was always getting into how the music impacted the listener.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he'll be missed. I mean, I so loved reading what he wrote. But the fact of the matter is that whenever I'm going to put on you know any Crimson or Matheny, I'm gonna hear his voice amongst that music.
Okay.
Um, it's a comfort, like again, it's like pulling up a chair with a nice cup of whatever and just sitting and listening to a friend just kind of talk about what they're passionate about. And
Oh,
I'm gonna miss reading that.
n- the fact that you knew him personally, what do you think he'll be remembered for the most?
Oh, I think it's gonna be his his care, just not only care about people that he interacted with, and just how he was, gracious and warm and open and real about things. But just, secondarily, it's the care that he had for music, care that he had for um, articulating things well, going beyond kind of a surface level and never getting mired in the technical details, but to talk about things at a way that people could really connect to.
So what you're saying was, well, there was no pretentiousness with this individual, with John. It was just sincere and genuine with the way he
Yep,
approached his work.
absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim, for joining me for this special tribute episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I will put in the description below uh, the link to the all that jazz.com website. It's pretty difficult for me to get my mouth around those words in terms of the website, all that
Yep.
jazz.com
Yep. And
websites.
if I may,
Go ahead.
like I said, he was known for his very lengthy reviews, especially when it came to the King Crimson box sets.
Yes.
Like
Okay.
the Starless, Road to Red, Lark's Tongues, the 1969, releases. Can look for, if you go on to All About Jazz and either follow the link that Armando will provide, or do a search for Kelman and Crimson, you'll see how deep the rabbit hole went with him, and it'll be well worth your time.
Yes. So when you do that, grab yourself a drink. I have my cup of coffee here because it's early in the morning here in Edmonton, and dive into it, which I will do. And you can sign up onto the site and just lose yourself in all of these articles and the fabulous work that John Kelman has done. So,
Yep, and All About Jazz is just a great site on its own. It's a great resource for jazz lovers. So highly recommend it just on the face of that alone.
okay. All right. Well, again, thank you, Jim, for joining me for this special tribute episode. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I will put the link for the website in the description and peruse at your leisure and enjoy. Enjoy. So that's it for now. We'll see you soon with more videos coming up. Jim and I have been planning to do another more videos, so that's coming up very soon. All right. So for Jim Bricker, I'm Armando Venditti signing off for now. Please look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you soon for another video. Bye for now.